Robot Quest Arena is a fast and furious deck-building game of robot battles that comes from a partnership between Perfect Day Games and Wise Wizard Games, who we have to thank for hooking us up with a review copy.
This 2 to 4 player card-driven robot combat game comes from the team of Robert Dougherty, CJ Monahan, and Paul Waite.
Battles are fast and furious and over pretty quickly, with games taking about an hour tops, quicker with less players.
Now, we couldn't find a recommended age for this game, but we would say it's very family-friendly and probably great for kids, though there is reading involved, so you can't go too young, and there are tiny little cubes, so be aware of that.
So Robot Quest Arena has a bit of a Pokemon vibe going on. You are kids on the island of Rivet, and you each have your own pet robot, which you battle each other in the arena, or the robots battle each other. Now, each team has a special ability, and it's up to the players to decide how to best improve their bots through deck building. Use energy to move and purchase new cards, move around the battlefield and push other bots, taking full advantage of the variable terrain tiles, and use an array of silly melee and ranged weapons to KO your opponents. Each point of damage done is a point for you, and don't worry, if your bot goes down, it just respawns next turn.
The components in Robot Quest Arena are fantastic. I mean, fantastic! This game features like the cutest, chunky plastic robots that remind us of like Nintendo Amiibos or Infinity figures. They're full color. They look awesome. And there's a very clear board with spots to store everything, though the board is a bit big. The card art's great. The iconography is excellent. The rulebook is very clear and concise. It's a win all around.
Yeah, if we had to complain about anything component-wise, it would be the size of the board. Now, while it's not ridiculous, we would have preferred just the arena. That way you can arrange the rest of the stuff, the cards, the health tokens, however you want, and optimize your play area and shrink it down on table space better. Now, that said, especially with newer, younger gamers, having a place for everything can be a bonus.
So you start a game of Robot Quest Arena by placing that big board out, shuffling the shop deck, and putting out an initial 6-card market. Placing the Advanced Battery, Heavy Hammer, and Rivet gun cards at the bottom of the shop. These are 3 cards that are always available to purchase. Set up the board according to the rulebook, or honestly, however you wish, making sure to include enough spawn points for your players. Make piles of health markers at the bottom of the arena. Note the amount of blue cubes is based on your player count.
Everyone picks a bot and takes the appropriate player board. Keep the bot off the board for now, but fill in the health spots on your player board with 1 blue cube, followed by a number of red cubes. It's based on how many wrenches are showing on your player board.
Now, everyone gets a starter deck of 10 cards with 8 batteries, 1 hammer, and 1 jump jet card. These get shuffled, and everyone draws 5 cards.
So at the start of your turn, if your bot isn't on the map, refill their health, which you obviously don't have to do the first turn, and pick a spawn point to start on. Then play cards to do stuff, right? It's a deck builder. Now, movement is orthogonal and is blocked by obstacles and other bots. Some cards provide movement, just straight up movement points that have to be used for movement. But the majority of your movement will be generated by spending energy, which comes from cards like batteries. 1 point of energy per square on the board moved. When moving, you can also push another bot for 2 energy. And if you push that bot into something, it takes damage. And if you push 2 bots into each other, they both take damage.
So while you're going to need energy to move, you're also going to want to use it to buy new cards. Each card in the shop has a cost and is added to your discard pile once it's bought. There are, of course, a wide range of cards, including ways to heal and ways to purge your deck, a variety of new ways to move, energy generation, and, of course, a slew of very silly weapons.
Weapons are either melee or ranged, with range being counted as square rings radiating from your bot, while melee is just orthogonally connected. Line of sight is required for most ranged weapons, and this is calculated from the center of your square to the center of the target square. Bots and obstacles block line of sight.
To make things interesting, the arena can be filled with a variety of different terrain tiles. There are walls that are just obstacles, computer terminals that let you draw and discard cards, the scrap heap that lets you purge cards from your deck, the potentially deadly trash compactor, and more.
Every time you damage an opponent, you collect their health tokens, and they become your victory points. Red cubes are worth 1 point each, but the blue cubes, which are only awarded when you KO a bot, are worth 2. You also earn victory points by being in the middle 9 squares of the board at the start of your turn and through some shop cards.
Remember how each time you respawn, you refill your health? Well, the game ends as soon as someone tries to respawn, but there are no more blue cubes left. At that point, people count up their points, and the bot with the most points wins.
So Robot Quest Arena is a deck building card game, and that means it features exception-based rules, where the cards can override pretty much anything we just said. For example, jump jets let you move over obstacles or other bots. Crate, which is the blue bot, costs an extra energy to push. Lasers shoot through things and don't require line of sight, and so on.
And when you're playing with 2 players, each player controls 2 robots with 1 single personal deck. Each card played, you decide which robot it's going to affect with your energy, and your movement is shared between the 2 robots.
There are also rules for team play, where every time your teammate loses health, you also lose 1 victory point, and it's the team with the most points between both members that wins the match.
So for our thoughts, I want to start off with just how eye-catching this game is. A big part of this is the big plastic full-color miniatures, but that's not it. It's just the overall bright cartoon aspect of the entire game. The icons chosen, the colors used, the look of the characters. There's just something inviting about this game.
So one thing I want to point out, and this is going back to Mo's mention earlier of the Pokemon vibe. It's interesting because in some ways, this game is nothing like Pokemon. Yet it still gives that vibe as the graphics, the theme, and even having an associated theme song really try to give that Pokemon vibe. The game outside of the theming really doesn't have any Pokemon aspects, though.
It's not Pokemon the card game. It's giving off vibes of Pokemon the cartoon series, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that, and it's visually like it's the thing with this game is it's just so visually cohesive. Like everything goes together beautifully, and it looks great on the table, and it looks very eye-catching, and it just looks fun.
Now, the next highlight for me is just how quick the game plays, and possibly more so, how much back and forth there is in a match. Now, when I first heard robot battle deck building, I was expecting a program movement game, something like Robo Rally. And that's not this. This is fast and furious battle, kind of like a Super Smash Brothers, where bots are moving all over the place and getting knocked out left and right, only to respawn, come back, and knock someone else out themselves. There are a lot of knockouts in this game. And once people have started to get some of the more expensive weapon upgrades, there's a lot of one-shot kills.
Yeah, I was surprised by how quickly this ramped up to where we were running in, KO, run out. Now you run in and KO, run out, as, maybe 2-shot kills. Very infrequently are we going further than that unless it's at the very beginning of the game, right? So that ramp up there, I was surprised by that before we actually sat down and played it.
Yeah, you quickly learn to get over your concern about being knocked out and instead just try to do more damage on your way to the scrapyard. These aren't high-end robots. These are easily rebuilt and repaired by kids. So you don't have to be concerned that a KO is any sort of great loss. They're just patching on whatever they find in the scrapyard.
And I think they nailed it with the game length here as well. Like Deanna said, it wraps up quickly, but it ends right when you picked up a couple really cool expensive cards and maybe gotten to use them once or twice. You did the cool thing once or twice. You're like, oh, the battle's over. I think if it went any longer, that thrill of upgrading, that ability to pull something off, something fancy and something neat would be lost if you just kept upgrading your deck. Plus, I have a feeling you'd start feeling bloated and you get more annoyed at just drawing the weapons you bought the first couple rounds. You don't get that feel of, oh, my deck is just so full and bloated now. Where's that one thing I want?
No, I agree. Like the timing on it is perfect. The game doesn't overstay its welcome. And also, you're getting knocked out all the time, but as we've already kind of hinted at, it doesn't take you out of the game. There's no player elimination, and I love that aspect. No one's ever sitting there waiting for the round to wrap up.
So the escalation in cards, as you can afford more, bigger cards, is really what sets the timing on this game. Once you're getting 7 or 8 energy every turn, the cards you can buy and the movement you're capable of really means that you're just trashing the other robots, sometimes even more than one if that timing works.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a 3-shot kill. We haven't seen one yet in our games. We've had 2. We've had 2 in one turn. The other thing I really like is just how simple the game is, right? It doesn't get bogged down. You use points to move or buy cards. You use weapons to hurt each other, and you use the terrain to your advantage. You're not worrying about things that are in some other robot battle games or arena games where you're worried about facing. You're not worrying about turning left or right. And there's no weird chain reactions to go off. And there's no complicated timing rules. Everything's just straightforward, simple, and easy to implement.
Yeah, like the timing, the line of sight, everything is just, it's kid level simple.
Yeah.
Well, without being too simplistic, like, because it doesn't feel dumbed down. It doesn't feel like, why am I playing this dumbed down game? But it's just smooth.
Yeah, simple doesn't mean it lacks anything. The range of cards and ways in which to use them and chain means more capable players can pull off some really nice turns, possibly most limiting by how much health the other players have left at the time.
Yeah, that was something we didn't really mention in the rule overview because we're being pretty high level, but like bots don't have a lot of health. Like the majority of them, 3 out of 4 in the core game only have 4 health, and overkill damage doesn't matter. So if you're doing at least 4, that bot's done. Now, we all already mentioned the board size as a minor complaint. I even if we didn't eliminate it, I wish the market board was a separate board. That way we can use it or not, depending on where we're playing. I do like that it's there. Like I said, playing with younger people, especially with the theme, it looks like the audience for this game, and you probably want someone to know where to put everything, right? Like, where's this card go? Where's that card go? But if you were with a group of experienced deck builders, it's not where I would put the stuff. I would put the stuff you can always buy at the top of the board. I would have run the market in a straight line at the bottom. I would have done things in a different order, and like all the health cubes would be in wooden bowls if you're playing at my place. So I would have liked that more variety if that board was at least separate, because then I can leave it in the box, or I could just not put it out as needed.
Yeah, I agree. I like the ability to adapt it to table size and where people are sitting and stuff like that. I value that in a game, but I think having everything laid out very idiot proof is kind of like what helps make this a very family weight game.
I think part of the problem is also that there is some dead space on the board, and I expect that was put in to pad the size to a standard printing size so that they could, they didn't have to do a fully custom cut. But that just goes a little bit further into making that whole thing feel so big on the table.
Now, we're not talking like, Marrakesh Hamburg big here either. It's not huge. It just feels bigger than it should be. But then the miniatures are bigger too, and the spots are bigger. There's just something about the game that's just like big. Now, you all know I love asymmetry in games, and this game is good for it. Each bot is unique. Personally, though, I want each kid to be unique, right? You've got the Pokemon kind of thing going on, right? Like each character you're playing is a pair. You've got a hero and a bot. And I just think the game would have been cooler if each hero had an ability and each bot had an ability, and you could mix and match.
So while I get where you're coming from, I personally think that's kind of unnecessary. The kids are set dressing. And I mean, even in Pokemon, the kids are supposed to be you. You're all the same. Everyone's the same. And it's your Pokemon monsters, or in this case, robots, that are the big differentiator and how you use them as opposed to what they are capable of.
Yeah, and I will say our kids, when they one of them's only gazed upon the game and hasn't actually played it yet. But when they were checking out the game, they didn't want the kids to be heroes. All they were interested in was Robot Wars.
Yeah, my kids are a huge fan of Robot Wars and Battle Bots. That's what they want to play. They don't care if they're kids. They want to be the kids. So I can see it. Like I said, it's a minor niggling thing. I always like more asymmetry. The more asymmetry you give me defaults. These can be the defaults, but then give me a way to swap out kids later. Plus, if anyone wants to complain about Sean calling all Pokemon traders the same, that's Sean at tabletopbellhop.com. Now, I think a good indication of how much we liked this game is the fact that all 3 of us got together at a local coffee shop and played the game 3 games in a row. The first time I brought it out. And the fact by the end of it, you had us online going to Wise Wizard's website going, what expansions are there? Because I know when we were at Gamma Expo, we saw other bots. What are the other bots? We immediately wanted more. And I've got to say, there's a Pokemon aspect. We kind of want to collect them all.
Yeah, got to catch them all. I got to say, I think if we would have played 4 or 5 times in a row, if the coffee shop wasn't closing. True. So that's an indication there.
Yeah, I think the aside from that toyerific aspect, they really nailed the game length. And part of that as well, and this goes to the look as well as the game length and everything, is that this game was well play tested. And it was tweaked. Like, you can tell that a lot of work went into this game. It's not just pretty, but it's pretty and it is an effective game. Now, what we don't know, because as much as we would like to collect them all, we haven't, how the available expansions might affect that and adjust that tightness of the game, because that's one of the things that we found is these expansions do add a lot to the game, or have the ability to add a lot to the game if you choose to include it.
Yeah, these expansions look awesome, right? Like each new bot comes with a new character to play, a new mini, more health cubes, new map tiles, and a new set of rules. Each bot adds a new element to the game, which just looks really cool. Like there's new sets of cards. One of them has events. Another one has movable terrain. There's all kinds of stuff. But I don't want to say more because we haven't tried any. Though I want them. Seriously, the collector's urge here it's bad.
Yeah, I was shocked that there was actual new rule sets coming with each robot. Just a cute robot and a player card with a little bit of asymmetry. I already would have been like lining up, okay, we need these. So the when I found out there was new rule sets, I was like, we must find these now. They have to.
Yeah, new rules, new cards, new tiles for the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot in these expansions. Even though you're only getting one more robot.
So overall, we all enjoyed Robot Quest Arena. Everyone we played it with so far has enjoyed Robot Quest Arena. It's a great mashup of arena battle game and deck building card game. It looks fantastic. I've got to say their universe looks interesting enough. I have a feeling, I'm not sure if this is true, but I have a feeling there may be more coming in the Robot Quest Arena. Like Robot Quest might be a whole thing. This is Robot Quest Arena. Maybe there's more Robot Quest games coming. The fact they hired a band and wrote a theme song for it might be it. But this on its own, without any of that, is a great family weight game that kids could enjoy on their own, but also a ton of fun for a group of deck building pros who have played deck builders going back to the original StarCraft.
Yeah, I think this is indeed a great family weight game. If you have younger kids and you are willing to sit down and play it with them, you are going to have a fun experience. For slightly older kids, they can be playing it on their own. And this is one that grown-ups are going to want to play on their own too. So it's a, solid.
Yeah, I could see if I were really getting into this with the family, not only are there 3D printed tiles that look fantastic to give you that, the dimensionality to the spike traps and things, but also I think that the board itself, we were talking about the board being too big, you could probably get like an extra large mouse pad size neoprene mat that would just fit neatly in the box on its own without even having to roll it. And that would probably be enough to fit the actual combat section of the board. And you could do whatever you chose to do with all the rest of the components and cards.
Now, if you're looking for an arena battle game that gives you that fast and furious and silly kind of feel of games like Super Smash Bros., I think this is going to be a great game for you. There's been a few other games out there that tried to recreate that fast, furious run and gun feel. This does it better than any others I've played.
And if, like me, you're a deck building fan, you should check this game out. It's using the mechanics you love to do something new and interesting that's worth trying. Robot Quest Arena evokes a rather different feel from most other deck building card games while holding on to a familiar mechanic.
Now, if you're looking for something like Mechs vs. Minions or Robo Rally, but with deck building, that's not what this is. Honestly, it's what I thought this was going to be until I sat down and played it. Despite being card driven, you don't get any of that programmed movement feel at all. There's no worrying about having something mess up your planned route. And while there's some fun stuff on the board, it's not a puzzle. You're not trying to figure out how to best use the conveyor belts and the gears and get pushed the right way. Now, I will say it is highly possible if you do love that kind of game and you're looking for that kind of game, you may still enjoy this game, because I did. Just be aware that you're sitting down to play a quick, rapid battler, not any type of puzzle game.
And as quick as that, the battle is over. The crowd is heading out of the arena, and it's time we wrap up this Robot Quest Arena review.
You all know how much I love deck building games, and I thought this one was pretty cool. What's the newest deck building game you've played? I'd love to hear all about it in the comments.
Now, I like deck builders too, but I also like coffee. You can top us up by heading to ko-fi.com/tabletopbell.